Charlie, thank you very much. So Charlie is, if you haven't watched his show, it's on YouTube, you can find it, Moving Home with Charlie. It is actually it's worth subscribing to if somebody is looking to buy a home because he gives amazing guidance to people in that situation. So Charlie started as a derivatives broker, and then he became a landlord, and then an estate agency marketing provider, and then an estate agency CRM software architect, campaigner for housing market transparency. Now, Charlie has so much experience. I'm looking to learn from him, and I've been buying, since 1986, really. We're really, really lucky to have Charlie. So, Charlie, thank you, welcome, and please do share.
Well, thanks very much for having me, Patricia. Yes, I have an extraordinary amount of experience through the systems I provided estate agents over the last 25 years. Literally millions of buyers and tenants have gone through the systems that I've designed.
Mm.
So what it's given me is it's given me a completely impartial and objective overview of exactly what works and what doesn't work. But the thing that anyone's got to realize when you're buying for the first time, and that's today's audience is people buying for the first time, I'm assuming, is that it's notoriously difficult for a long list of reasons that many of us know. But the one thing that I cannot understand is that no matter how much me and other people give the guidance to be prepared and come better prepared, agents are still dealing with people on a daily basis in large numbers, turning up with absolutely no preparation done and then wondering why they get ignored. And so if you only remember one thing from the guidance I give today as a would-be homeowner, is that when you start calling up agents to go and view properties, make sure you've done your homework first and you are prepared. It's the three P's that you need to have a successful outcome because you are almost always, as a tenant, going to be in the most competitive part of the market. You're going to find yourself up against lots of other buyers. So you are competing. It's not a question of just turning up to an estate agent like a shop and saying, I want that one, please, and they give it to you. That's not how it goes. You've got to get through a lot of hurdles. And that's what I do on my channel is I give people just as much as my free experience as I can to help that be the case. When you turn up and you're well prepared, there are two specific advantages it gives you. First of all, you will be given a head start over other less prepared buyers. And I'll come on to what prepared means in a moment. Secondly, you will also be better defended against the traps and the tricks that agents will try and get you to sign up to, like their in-house mortgage brokers, where there's a conflict of interest because you've got the agent representing the seller and then an in-house broker representing the buyer in the same room, and that's a conflict of interest as far as I'm concerned. Um, and being forced to use their conveyancer instead of having chosen your own, these kinds of things. You want to avoid those pitfalls because nothing's more frustrating than doing everything right, trying to buy a place, using a conveyancing firm, for example, that you're recommended to use. Turns out they're really bad. They just give the agent a big commission for introducing you, and then that conveyancer lets you down and loses your purchase, and that can happen, and it does happen a lot. So there are so many pitfalls that your job as a tenant is to basically improve your odds on every possible front. Now, first time buyers are notorious with agents. And in fact, the data also shows this that first time buyers are the most likely buyers to pull out of a purchase with no explanation, right? So you're up against that bad reputation before you even begin. Okay. It's more than one in three of failed transactions are first time buyers just going, actually, we've changed our mind. And so one of the things that the agents want to see is that you are sure. This isn't just a whim and you're doing it because you think it's a good idea and you haven't thought it through, but you're doing it because you have thought it through and you really are prepared. Okay. Hmm. Um, So that's the first thing you've got to overcome. Secondly, make sure you've got your proof of deposit funds and your mortgage and principal ready before you start trying to offer. Because if you do, when you find the property that you really want, as often as not, you'll be up against other people bidding on it too. And if let's just assume that you all bid the same or a similar amount, but you have your source of funds approved, your mortgage and principal approved, your conveyancer lined up ready to go, and you've said also I'll purchase my property search pack the day that memorandum of sale is issued. In other words, you're demonstrating you understand the process and you've got everything ready to go. Your offer is going to get accepted over and above the other guys who just make the offer with the amount but don't have anything else ready because they're going to be another 3 or 4 weeks behind you at least. So for the seller, by having everything ready, you're likely to complete your purchase much, much sooner. And for most sellers, that's very attractive. This is the being prepared part, right? This is the 3 Ps. Be prepared. The next one is be persistent. Do not get demoralized when your offer doesn't get accepted. You should be expecting to offer on, as a first time buyer, you should be expecting to offer on maybe 10 or 15 properties before you actually get one accepted. And that's presuming, of course, that you are offering sufficient market price for those properties as well. But don't get downtrodden. It is a demoralizing process, especially when your offer was the same as someone else, but someone else got it for situational reasons, and you've done all the effort and time and work, and you've put the money in the time and effort being prepared and done the viewings, and you get told that you didn't get it. But you know what? Not everybody can get it, and good estate agents will always have a handful of buyers bidding on a property. So you're going to be up against those odds. So be persistent. Don't stop and don't stop viewing. And the third P is to be patient. So you will probably find yourself at some point in a situation where you've made your offer and the agent comes back and says, "No, I'm really sorry, your offer hasn't been accepted. Can you go a little bit more?" But if you've followed my guidance, you will have offered your maximum comfortable price. You will have no more to go up, and you have to stand your ground. And then they'll say, "Sorry, the seller's not going to accept that." But often as not, if you're patient, a few weeks later, you get a phone call saying, "Is that offer still there?" And it happens. It happens a lot. It just requires patience. Don't get tricked into the overbidding and overpaying because that can be a very big pitfall to fall into. But before any of that, the biggest, there's a horrific statistic. Something like 50% of first-time buyers end up regretting their purchase. And there's a long list of reasons for this. And I'm here to help people make sure that that isn't what happens, and that when you do buy somewhere, you're really happy about it. And I'm here to try and give people a heads up about the pitfalls. First and foremost, there is this massive, unquestioned assumption that buying is always financially a great idea. And even though that has been true for the last 4 decades, pretty much, well, actually, not the last decade in London so much, but for a long time, it is definitely currently no longer the case that it's a surefire thing. And therefore, by all means, always buy a home because you want to live in it and you can afford it. But you should no longer assume you're going to make capital growth on it. Hopefully you do. And if you do, that's great. But you should no longer make an assumption. And if your primary reason for buying is because you think it's going to make you financially better off, you need to severely check your own assumptions on that. Do your research because every single day at the moment, I'm getting people messaging me on my socials. I've got 2 examples today I could pull up on screen right now saying, "I overpaid and I've been living to regret it for the last 10 years. And here is the list of things that I didn't take into account of the costs of owning a property. And I'm stuck and I can't get out of it. And I've got a mortgage I can't pay off and. Life didn't turn out how I thought." So there are many questions to ask yourself before deciding to buy. And the way I always suggest it is put the financial questions to one side for a minute. Ignore the finances, ignore the financial reasons for buying or renting. Is it what's right for you at your time of life right now. Is it because you want stability, or actually do you want flexibility? If money wasn't a deciding factor, would you still prefer to own? Yes or no? And if it's a definite, oh my God, even ignoring the money, I want to own because I want stability more than anything else. And you're sure that you want to own, and you won't get stuck, and then later find out you can't sell because the market's moved against you, and then wish you hadn't bought. If you're buying because you think, well, I'm going to be there at least 10 years, um, then these things are a good sign. But especially for first time buyers, more than any others, life just doesn't pan out how any of us expect it to very often, right? There are so many things that we don't see coming, good and bad. You can meet someone and that can change the course of your life. You can end up separating from someone and that can change the course of your life. You can end up unexpectedly changing careers or losing a career. That can change the course of your life. And sometimes it's better to have a flexibility of renting when those unexpected things come along. So make sure you've thought through all the what if scenarios, because my baseline advice is always prepare for the worst and hope for the best. And provided you have actually thought through what if all the things go wrong, would I still be happy that I bought? If you can tick all those boxes, and those are the non-financial things, right? And then you go into the financial ones and go, am I definitely sure I can afford this? Am I sure I won't end up in negative equity? Am I confident of my financial situation, my job, my employment, whatever it might be? Then yeah, get cracking, get prepared, get persistent with your viewing and offering, and be patient, and you will get your home. But please do not be blinded by the rose-tinted spectacles of owning a property is just a dream. It feels like a dream when you haven't had it, but that's only because you haven't had the nightmare of what happens when it doesn't work out. And present company accepted, I'm sure, most mortgage brokers are slightly on the over optimistic side of how great it's going to be. And a lot of them don't give as much cautionary warning about things going wrong as they should, in my view. Because when you buy a place and you buy it well, as Patricia referred to earlier, you buy it at a good price, you haven't overstretched yourself, you buy a place you want to live in and you're happy there. It's life-changingly good and it's wonderful and it's worth the difficulty and the stress and the hassle and the saving and everything else to get there. But then when you go through all of that and it backfires on you, it's life-changingly bad. So all I'm saying is just make sure you're really careful and really sure it's what you want to do.
Charlie, thank you so much. I knew that it would be great to have you on here, because I've been buying as a business person for far too long. And the business side of buying is very, very different to the residential side of buying. I moved into my home where I live now in 2002. So that was a good 20 odd years ago. It's been ages since I bought anywhere to live in. And what you've said is just so, so important. Like I said, I've been in negative equity before. It didn't feel good, but I was very, very lucky. The market moved me out of this. The other thing as well is that because prices are actually quite low, I think at the moment, so I'm literally just, adding, this is my passion, house purchasing, buying, however one does it, is something that really excites me. Because prices are really low at the moment, there are opportunities that we probably won't see for a bit longer. And I remember when we went into our first lockdown, and nearly everyone that I knew was panicking, including myself. And I thought, right, when people are panicking, prices go down. And I literally, from a business perspective, I went out and I started buying. And I was absolutely correct in that prices then shot up so much after that. So again, I think, if people, you know, as Charlie has said, be prepared, be persistent, and be patient. But also, I guess what I would just add to that is that for where we are right now, there possibly is a window of opportunity that may or may not be there. in maybe a year's time. Now, I'm not an estate agent. I'm not selling anything to anyone who may well be on this webinar or who might listen to it. Um, and that belief is why I went out looking to buy on Friday. And it was a direct to vendor, and I think I will be getting it. But you have to be sure. Now because of my experience, if I was in negative equity, I think I'd just ride it through. But it really is very, very, very demoralizing if, in your first home, you then think, oh my gosh, I could have got this home for a lot less. Which is why, as Charlie said, you need to know exactly why you're buying and where you're buying it. So, say if somebody wants to live right next to their parents, you probably won't think, if you're in negative equity, that it was a bad move because that property might not be there, during the downturn for you to then buy at a lower price. So it's all a question of, being honest with yourselves. We have to be honest with ourselves and know why we're doing what we're doing. And on that front, no questions for Charlie. Wow. Okay, no questions at all. We are good.